We found a whole new way to stock our prepper pantry. Hey guys, it's Jera with Wicked Prepared. Welcome back to the channel, and to all of our new subscribers, welcome. If you're just here checking things out and you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the little bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on anything that we have coming up. Today I'm going to share with you my little haul from Azure Standard, and more importantly, tell you about my experience shopping with Azure Standard, because this was my first time shopping with them and I really didn't know what to expect, but it ended up being a really neat experience. So I thought I would kind of demystify it for anyone who's never shopped with them or doesn't really know how it works. Now, I know we have some viewers who do shop with Azure, so even if this isn't new to you, I would love it if you would stick around, watch, and maybe chime in down in the comments with your experience, especially if your experience has been different than mine, because I'm sure with the nature of the business that all the drops work a little bit differently. And I would also really love it if you would comment with some of your favorite items to order from Azure, some of the best deals that you found, and even things to stay away from. Now, Azure Standard has been in the news lately because they made the very unfortunate and widely circulated list of food manufacturing facilities that were struck by fire or other misfortune when their headquarters burned down back in April. But if you're not familiar with Azure Standard, they're a family-owned business based in Oregon that produces, procures, and delivers natural and organic foods and products across most of the United States. This is done through a system of deliveries called drops. As their website puts it, it's a free and independent food supply chain where you get the food you really want, delivered directly from the producer to you. No middleman, no grocery store overhead, no long lines to shop or pay. And that is a very accurate statement, and with the way things are going right now in the world, that is a very good thing. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole story and history of the company, but it really is an interesting and inspiring story, so I encourage you to go and read it all on their website. I'll have a link right down in the description section under this video. But when I first heard about Azure Standard, I was intrigued. When I went and checked out their website, I found that there were no drops anywhere near me, so I just kind of wrote them off as not being an option for us. But I kept hearing their name and hearing so many good things about them. And so more recently, when I checked into them again, lo and behold, there is now a drop actually right up the road within 10 minutes of me. I spoke with someone at the company, and she told me that they are very newly coming into New England. So I think it's kind of like their final frontier. In fact, I looked at their map of drops and I saw that there's only 9 drop locations in the whole state of Maine. So far anyways. So I definitely feel blessed to have one so close to me. So basically how it works is that they deliver along delivery routes, and there are drop locations around the country. The drop that I used has once a month delivery, and I think that probably most of them are the same, but there can be drops with deliveries twice a month or even once a week. There's no minimum for orders, but if you order less than $50, I read that there's a $5 handling fee added. So for me, I consider that to be a personal minimum of $50 because I don't want to pay any extra fees if I don't have to. And $50 really isn't that much to spend considering all the products that they have every month. If you live within a certain distance of Oregon, there's no shipping fee. And if you live further away, the shipping fee is very minimal. I mean, you know that I hate paying shipping, and I live in Maine, which is probably about as far away from Oregon as you can possibly get. But the fee for my order was very reasonable. I think it was under $10, and considering that my order was over 100 pounds in weight, that seemed very reasonable to me. Now, if you don't want to do a drop, it does say that they will ship orders via parcel service. And if you live in Alaska or Hawaii, they do ship to those states as well as the Caribbean and the South Pacific via barge lines and freight forwarders. So my first order I have right here, and it's just 3 things. And that's because honestly, they have so many products that they offer that at first I was just overwhelmed of everything that they had, and I didn't even know where to begin. But I wanted to get my first order in by last month's deadline so that I could, get my feet wet and try it out and figure out how it all worked. Now, the main thing I got here was wheat, and that was what brought me here in the first place. I was ready to add some more whole wheat berries to my food storage, and of course, wheat prices have gone up, and the cheapest price that I could find anywhere was from Azure. And then the other thing that caught my eye was this freeze-dried elderberry powder, because elderberry is so good for immunity, and freeze-drying is such a superior way of preserving foods. So I thought that this would be a great item to have around. So a little bit more about the foods that I did get. I got this bag of organic hard red wheat that's 50 pounds. I got another 50 pounds of non-GMO soft white wheat. And then, of course, I got my little bag of freeze-dried elderberry powder. Now, the wheat, these are hard wheat berries, and these are preferable for food storage because if these are properly packaged, these can last for at least 25 to 30 years or maybe more. Now, what can you do with these wheat berries? You can grind them into your own flour. And that's actually preferable because number one, the flour is not going to store nearly as long as the wheat berries. And number two, you get a lot better nutrition if you're grinding your own flour from your own wheat. As soon as the wheat is ground, it begins to lose its nutrients. And so within 3 days, I think it's lost 90% of the nutrients that were in the wheat berries. So it's a much more healthy way to use wheat flour anyhow. Now, I didn't get hard white wheat, and I can't remember if that was because it was out of stock or if that's just because I have more hard white wheat that I already have than I do of these two. And not to mention that even though this was the best price on the wheat, still 50 pounds of wheat, it's a pretty decent investment. It's not, chump change. So I probably didn't want to buy a third 50-pound bag of wheat this time, but it might have been out of stock. The organic, I don't usually spring for organic. I know that organic is better, but I'm just still at a point where budget is still important to me. And so I tend to go for the cheaper non-organic, but this was all that they had in stock. And this was still a better price than non-organic hard red wheat that I found anywhere else. And then this one is, of course, non-GMO, and it says no spray. Now, the hard red wheat and the hard white wheat are what you would want to use for bread. And the hard white wheat would be a little bit closer to the typical bread that we're probably mostly used to eating, whereas the hard red wheat is going to be more of a whole grain. They're all whole grains, but that's going to be more of, a hearty whole grain, sort of dark texture bread. And then the soft white wheat is better for pastries. Now, the other thing that you can do with the wheat berries is you can sprout them, and you can also just cook them whole, and it makes sort of like a pilaf type of dish. You can make it into a hot cereal. So if you're storing wheat berries and you haven't gotten a good wheat grinder yet, you would still be able to use these for other things besides grinding them for flour, even if you weren't able to get a good manual wheat grinder right away. Now, these come from Azure just in a paper bag, and so obviously I will be repackaging these for a bit longer storage. And then the elderberry powder, freeze-dried. Elderberries are really great for immunity. They're used as a cold and flu remedy. They've got a lot of antioxidants, a lot of vitamins. They're good for stress. They are good for your heart. They're good for all sorts of things like that. And so freeze drying is the best way to preserve fruits and vegetables because it maintains 97% of the nutrients that are in the raw food. And so when I saw this, I was really excited. I've never seen elderberry powder like this before that's made from freeze-dried elderberries. I've seen syrups and I've seen things like that, but this was really exciting to me. So I got this bag for that reason. So a couple of things I noticed about the ordering system. First of all, as it got close to my cutoff, I noticed that they offered me the option to check out my order, but still continue to add more to it up until the cutoff time, which was really nice because that way you won't forget. Like, I know myself, I tend to get distracted with something else that needs my attention. And then before I know it, like, time has passed and I missed whatever deadline it was that I had. So I really appreciated having that option. Another thing I noticed was that as I was shopping, it still was showing me things that were out of stock. It just listed them down at the bottom. And it also showed when they were expecting more and how many more they were expecting. And not only that, but if it was expected before my next order cutoff date, they allowed me to add it to my cart for my next order, even though it was out of stock, which was kind of cool. Now, the order cutoff date and the drop delivery date were not that far apart. I think it was less than a week. And there was plenty of email communication, making sure that I knew what was going on, when my pickup time was, where it was, all of that. So when it came time to go to my drop, I was a little bit nervous because I really just didn't know what to expect. So I put the address in my GPS and I took off driving. And like I said, it was really only about 10 minutes or less from my house. And it was a little backcountry road. And when I got there, I was about 15 minutes early and there were already cars just lined up, parked alongside the road on both sides of the driveway of this house. This was the person's house where the drop was. This is the drop coordinator. So I parked and I sat and I waited, and after a little bit, here comes the big semi truck pulling up down this backcountry road, and it just pulled up and stopped right in front of this person's driveway. The driver got out and he opened up the back of the truck and he just started moving everything down towards the back and unloading everything and just setting it along the back of the trailer. And everyone that was there for the drop was lined up at the back of the truck and just started grabbing the packages and the bags and boxes and carrying them up the driveway to the drop coordinator's house. Now, some people had brought dollies and some people had brought wagons or carts, and there was a lot of people who just didn't have anything. So everyone just started taking items up to the house and was just distributing them into the appropriate piles in front of each person's sign with their name on it. So it was a very cooperative effort, and it was really kind of neat. Everyone was very friendly. The drop coordinator was very friendly. She was super helpful because obviously this was my first time. I had a lot of questions. I didn't really know what was going on. She showed me how to find the customer's name on the item and how to find the right place to sort them. And she did tell me to be careful and make sure that I read the first and the last names to make sure that everybody got the right items, because she said that there were a lot of people who were coming from pretty far away to this drop. And so later on, when I did look at that map and see that there's not many drops in Maine, I could understand why this was. But she did go around with her paperwork and her list after everything was sorted, double checked everything before people could start taking their items. So it was very well organized. Now I went to grab my items and I saw that I had my 2 bags of wheat, which was great. And then the third item in my pile was this box of organic fish taco seasoning. I was a little bit worried because fish taco seasoning was not what I had ordered. And not that I don't love fish tacos and wouldn't love to have some fish taco seasoning, but it wasn't what I ordered. So my daughter was there with me, my youngest daughter, and she and I were wondering if they might have packaged my item inside of this other box, repackaged it, but I didn't really want to open it up and see because I wasn't sure if I was going to have to return this. I just didn't know what to do. So I did go and ask the drop coordinator, and she said, yes, they do sometimes package things in like old boxes. They reuse the boxes because they're a zero waste company. And so they really try to just recycle everything and not waste at all. So at that point I did open it up and I saw that it was my elderberry powder inside and also the next month's sale flyer that they had enclosed in there for me. So all was well. And that was really all there was to it. I loaded my items up and I brought them home, and I'm really looking forward to my next order from Azure Standard. I've been asking people like what their favorite items are, doing a little bit more browsing of their website and their catalog, their sale items. And so far I've added some diatomaceous earth to my cart because that was a really good deal. And that's something that we use in the garden for pests, and you can use it for taking care of like bugs in your food storage. It's good as a dewormer against intestinal parasites. It's really just a great item to have all around. And they had a great price on it. So I also got some soap nuts in my cart because that's something that I've heard about and I have never tried. So I really want to try some of those. So I'm going to grab some of those in my next order. And that's all I have so far. But I'm going to be adding a lot more. They have so many different categories of items. They have all sorts of food. They are a great source of bulk food, like the wheat, like oats, all sorts of bulk foods like that. They have every sort of food you can imagine. They have cleaning supplies. They have paper products. Looks like they had a pretty good deal on toilet paper I saw. They even have fresh produce. They have frozen foods. They have dairy. They have literally everything that you could possibly imagine that you would get at a regular grocery store, and then some. They have animal supplies, animal feed, natural, holistic medicines. They really have so much. They have an emergency preparedness section and a food storage section. They have oxygen absorbers, Mylar bags, 5-gallon pails, Gamma Seal lids, candles. They have really great 1 gallon and half-gallon glass jars. They have lids too that are sold separately, but those are great for food storage. They have some mason jars. They just have so much stuff. So I have a link down in the description box below, and I'll also put probably a link up in the corner of the screen so you can head on over to the website and just take a look around and see what they're all about. Go ahead and set up an account, and once you set up your account, you will see that in your account you have something that says Share Azure. And you can share Azure. You have a link to share. Every customer has a link. You can earn store credit to spend at Azure just for people visiting your link and using your link to shop, which is pretty awesome. I love it when shops have programs like that. Now, I will say I did not order anything that was refrigerated or frozen. And I did talk to a couple of people at the drop that I was at, and they were saying that they had had some issues with some of their frozen food lately, things that were thawed out or, kind of frozen together in a clump. So I've kind of decided for myself that I think I probably won't order anything frozen during the summer months. And I feel like probably during the colder time of year might be a better time to order frozen items if I decide to order anything frozen. But mostly what I was interested in were non-frozen items anyways, more food storage items, long-term, like bulk storage, things like that. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments if you've ever heard of Azure Standard, if you've shopped Azure Standard. I would love to know what your experience has been like, especially if it's different than what I experienced. And I would also love to hear what your favorite items are to get from Azure, because I'm still looking to add to my list and check out different things and decide what things that I want to get in my next deliveries. Thank you for hanging out with me today. And if you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave me a delivery truck emoji down in the comments. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.